listening to Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Midwest Money Management, your local full-service comprehensive financial planning team. Midwest Money Management, where hope is not a strategy.
We've got Connor in with us today. Connor is a certified financial planner professional at Midwest Money Management. Connor, thought about you. Must have been Saturday when we were golfing.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's so funny because, well, of course, now we've been talking on a regular, so I kind of think I know everything now. I'm golfing with the worst thing a guy can do, and this is to be quite honest. I'm golfing. I'm the only still working person in our group, right? So I'm golfing with 8 or 9 retired folks. Yep. And I know how it came up because they're doing some stuff at the state with the teacher retirement plan, and another one of the guys has married to a teacher. And so it came up. You know, how do you think this worked out? And we talked about it. Then instantly 9 semi-quasi money market professionals who were plumbers at one time and all kinds of were telling me all the rules they knew about how to make your money, how to retire. And I'm like, just out of nowhere. Everybody thinks they're a professional because they read a thing on the internet. Oh, there's a rule. You got to do this and this. That must drive you bonkers.
Well, Al, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, part of the onus for us to start putting out and to jump on a show with you is, frankly, let me just say, breaking news for all your listeners, you can't trust everything you see on the internet. And it turns out,
wait.
No, I know you're gonna go viral now here. You can't trust everything that you see on the internet, or read on the internet. By the way, I know
I'm
reading.
Stunned.
Yep.
Wow, really?
And unfortunately, personal finance is very far from immune from that. I personally can't go into comment sections on videos on Facebook or Instagram or what have you, because it drives me completely nuts. And it's really beyond that. It's just kind of sad because, you know, with high production value and very strong sounding and smart sounding, you know, opinions, it's easy to steer people the wrong way. And a lot of times I don't think they mean to. It's just a fundamental, you know, not a deep enough understanding or something like that.
Well, and again, I don't talk about anybody. There's a guy that screams on TV all the time about do this, and evidently his numbers are worse than the average stock market. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's where it's probably affected me, besides my golf buddies, because, again, I'm 5 years from getting out. Oh, you should do this, all this. Is on the other side of that spectrum. I have 2 children that are now getting their first big-time people jobs, and they're having to sign up for, 401(k)s or 401ks or whatever. They're in the game. And all the people they meet are throwing in them those rules of thumb. Oh, you got to do this and you got to do that in the thing. Yeah. But it can't be that cookie cutter. Now, I would say here's the only rule of thumb, because I'm talking to my 2 young kids on this. Get involved, right? Start early. And what I mean by that, they're both getting in. They both have a matching fund. I don't even know what it is. We'll match 2%, whatever it is.
Yep.
And I turned to my kid and said, well, you're going to match that. Well, not this year. Maybe next year when I got my... No. This is an old man rule of thumb. Am I wrong on that rule of thumb? Do what you got to do to get in early. So
beyond internet videos and I don't know, articles and posts that are sometimes misleading, rule of thumbs are somewhat of a pet peeve of mine generally, and that's a blanket statement and almost rule of thumb in and of itself. So I guess that can't completely be. But generally speaking, a lot of the rules of thumb to me are a good starting place for people. There's a handful that we use in the office as, for example, for your sons who are younger, telling them that they should put away a certain amount of their income for retirement now based on their age, and that being a good benchmark for them to work towards. Things like, hey, you should at least put into your 401k enough to get the full match. That's table stakes, and everyone should do that.
Okay.
Right? Now, there's a caveat of there might be circumstances where you don't necessarily want that. And again, that's where even the best rules of thumb have caveats, and sometimes it's not that simple. And that's where you need to have a little more detail, or we would need to have more detail to help with someone specifically. But yeah, generally speaking, a young person can't afford not to make that choice.
I got to 30-ish before I ever figured it out and got in the game. Way too late. The sooner the better, because compounding and all the rest. But let me what I wanted to do with you, if you're good with it today, because now that I know you hate rule of thumb, which is your rule of thumb, which, by the way, is too funny. I want to put that on radio. I want to throw one or two of them out. Can we kind of talk through them? And would you mind debunking one or two?
Sure. Yep.
One of my it was a 50-30-20 rule. Budget your income based on your needs, wants, and goals. 50% of your income for needs, 30 for wants, 20 for goals. And that makes perfect sense. But then I look at my kid and I'm like,
yep.
He needs so much more right now. Our wants, maybe, like he'd like a couch. He'd like chairs for his new home. He's got so many needs and wants. It's got to take from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I get it, food and water, light, but he needs a couch. This month, he can't.
A lot of the budgetary ones, specifically on this is how much you should spend on this and that and those types of things. There's multi-levels, right? So if you're trying to buy a house, the bank is literally going to say you can only have this much debt compared to your income. So a rule of thumb like that is a hard and set rule. And there are others that are lower that are more healthy, and on average, and according to studies, someone with X amount of debt has a healthier, of course. 50, 30, 10, you said 50, 30, 20, is that what you said?
50, 30, 20. Yeah, and I like 20% your goals, but good gosh.
Yeah, and that's a lot, and here's the thing, again, it depends on the person. So, all right, well, you're a 18-year-old that's working at Chipotle, and you make $5,000 a year, and so you need to put $2,000 towards your need. I don't know, probably not. You probably have a student loan. Who knows? You're living at home. So I think that if you're looking to sanity check yourself and you're looking at your budget and you're saying, hey, am I way out of whack? Now, if you said, hey, 50% of my budget is going towards things that I want and that I don't need, well, maybe you just need to ask yourself, is that really where you want to be putting resources? Everything's a trade-off. Everything is, you are taking $1 to put it here, and it's somewhere you're giving up, putting it somewhere else, right? So, but it's got to be more personal than that. I would say that that's maybe a good benchmark to look at and say, but I don't know that I'm not aware of the basis of those numbers specifically.
But that's such a sliding scale too. Like you say, my kid who 50, 30, 20, great. Put 20 away if you can, but he doesn't. He's got to buy a couch. Otherwise he's going to sit on lawn furniture.
Okay, you're a 50-year-old couple, and you have two kids that are 18 and 22, and you're now about to pay for college. Well, do you need to pay $40,000 a year per kid for college, or do you want to? Well, that's kind of a personal choice, but which bucket does it go into? So this is the thing where it's not quite that simple.
Let's bust it down to Midwest Money Management then, because it isn't that simple, and I get that. Mm-hmm. When 18, 23-year-old kid comes in and says, will you guys work with me? And you're saying, yeah, you need a couch. I'm going to be honest, you need a couch. But if it's 30-year-old kid comes in, he's just getting married, wife has whatever bucket she might have, do you guys sit down and say, looking at what you got, you got it furniture now, that isn't it, but your car kind of sucks. Do you guys bust that down to maybe it's not 50, 30, 20, but to work those?
Sure. We're not necessarily on generally. Now, I think we work with folks to the needs that they have, generally speaking. There's a couple of things that might be outside of our scope, and we would refer to someone who's more in that, for example, debt consolidation or getting sort of like debt relief. That isn't something that we specifically do, but we've had folks reach out and we've tried to find them resources. For the example you gave, 30-year-old couple, they just got married, they've got stuff all over the place. We're not necessarily going to be like, hey, saw you pull up in the parking lot, you really need to go buy a new car. but if a lot of times they'll come to us and say, hey, in the next 18 months, 0 to 18 months, we think we need to buy a car. What do you think? What do we do? We might say, hey, you guys have been doing a really good job saving for retirement. What's your savings, for example? Another rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of savings. That's one everybody says all the time. That's a pretty good one generally. But again, there's a bunch of holes in that too, depending on a circumstance. But we might say, hey, back down the 401k. Maybe someone is putting 12% into their 401k and they're getting a 3% match. Okay.
Oh, I see.
And that's great. Good for retirement. But maybe we back down the savings into that so that you get an extra $5, $6, $7, several $100s a month for a little while. To make for the payment. So yeah, we will absolutely help find the efficient way to accomplish the goals, which is ultimately what it should be about. It's helping people, accomplish their goals.
Well, and that's just, okay, I'm going to go to break, and then we'll take one more rule of thumb. We were talking like buying a car. I remember my old man, if you can't afford to buy it in 3 years, you aren't buying the car. Now you look at the TV and the commercials like, We'll give you an 8-year lease on this. What? Even just the ability, those old rules of thumb aren't even rules of thumb anymore. Can you buy a car in 3 years? Are you allowed to? I don't think you're allowed to. I think the Ford people say no. We'll talk about it. We'll be back after this with more Connor with Midwest Money Management.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
There are many ways to explore Alexandria. Some like to experience the outdoors and all the fun winter in Minnesota can provide. Pick your favorite way to get in touch with nature. Others like to explore downtown in the warm comfort of a boutique or gathered around a table with friends. You can do all of that or relax and do nothing at all. Come explore Alexandria. Start planning at explorealex.com.
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got Connor in with Midwest Money Management. And I kind of find this interesting. I'm getting under his skin with rules of thumb because his rule of thumb is he doesn't like rule of thumb, so we're going to do it even more. I presume the thing you must hate in your line of work the worst. Somebody like me walks in, what do I need to retire? How much? Give me the number, because here's the one I found. The 300 rule, have you heard of this? Take your current monthly expenses, multiply that by 300, and that's how much money you need. Well, that seems pretty simplistic in, well, what if we have, I don't know, a pension plan? What if we have, I mean, how do you get to that number? And wait a minute, I've got Midwest Money Management running my money, so it's going to get 10 times everything anyone else is going to get. I could get, how do you just say take 300? That's the number you need. How do you guys figure that out? What would you tell me if I said, what do I need?
This is one of the examples where I could not disagree more with the rule of thumb. Will that work for somebody? Maybe. Okay. But, 300 times your total expenses. Is that what the rule of thumb was?
Yeah, because I suppose that's 25 years. So you take what your expenses are for the next 25 years. You'll die within that time. So if you have that, you're good. You'll run into home plate with nothing left.
Well, I assume that is. I assume that's a monthly. You take your monthly by 300, which means if you have $100,000 in expenses in a year, you need about $2.5 million to retire. Which I actually would posit that a lot of folks probably go, holy crap, that means I'm way behind. Yes. And by the way, does that take into account Social Security and pensions and when you retire and all of the other factors that every single person has involved? Of course it doesn't. And this is the problem with rule of thumb. It's
Okay.
kind of like, I mentioned earlier, depending on how old you are, going back to kind of your sons who are getting into the workforce and adulting, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically studies show that between 20 or, late teens into your 20s and early 30s, if you save 10% of your gross income, and you retire at a normal retirement age, 65, and you get normal market-like returns and things, that 10%, if you do that the entire time, should essentially replace the income you have. So it should grow with your income, and that's a general rule of thumb. If you don't start till you're in your mid-30s into your 40s, it might be 15 or 20 and so on. And if you don't start to your 50s, now you really got to save and catch up. Now there's no replacement for time in the market and compounding. But in terms of how we would, respond or how we would do the retirement planning, we're looking at someone's individual circumstance. What do you spend now? What do you need? What do you want? What is it that you're looking to do? When are you looking to retire? What are your incomes now? What are you saving? What are your incomes in retirement? Again, a lot of people get Social Security, and if they don't, a lot of times either they're self-employed or they've got some kind of government pension, which a lot of laws and things are changing that game too. But we're going to look at the ins and the outs of your actual situation and say, here's how much your investments need to support. And maybe the answer is, hey, you got to save a little more aggressively. We might need to increase how much you have invested because we're not showing you're going to have your money won't last till you're 100. We might go, your money's going to last until you're 100 and you're going to have more when we show that you pass away. And what else do you want to spend more? Do you want to give some to your kids? What do you want to do? So we take a much more individual approach, which is again why some of those rules of thumb I just can't stand.
It seems so simplistic because I honestly think if you looked at my budget, our travel budget, my wife and I's travel budget will go through the roof when we're done working. That's all she wants to do. So, I mean, hanging around in Blue Earth is one thing. Here's your monthly. But we start traveling the world.
Well,
good
Al,
night.
Let me ask you.
No.
You retire, and where do you put your travel budget and the needs or the wants in your 50-30-20 plan?
What? See that?
This is why these rules of thumb. Again, some of them are okay, but it's like the big one that we hear a lot, which is the big research collegiate, academic thing, is the 4% rule now. It used to be the 3% rule. Now it's the 4% rule, which says you can draw 4% of your portfolio. Studies show if you draw 4% of your portfolio, you'll never run out of money. Well,
because the market will do better. Yeah,
the market will do better. Inflation might not catch up, and all these variables again are, how long is that happening? What is inflation? Yada yada. But that's what research shows. So people come in and they go, well, what about the 4% rule? And we go, well, how does that feel for you? Do you feel secure that you read online that you can take 4% out and you'll just be fine? And also, by the way, most people, a lot of the everyday folks that we work with, don't have so much money that they're just never going to tap into principal of their investments. That's, again, you think about it, a lot of folks are living on, I would say tens of thousands, certainly, maybe $100,000+ a year. That's not uncommon in retirement. You know how big your portfolio needs to be to generate $120,000 and never go down? I mean, that's just not that realistic for people.
And this is the rule of thumb I'm going to go with. Stop listening to your buddies, stop reading crap online, and go get a guy like Midwest Money Management, because I would presume, and hopefully next week we can talk about it, the rule of thumb of where to invest the money when you go. Super duper fast funds and aggressive city funds or whatever. Can we talk about all that next time?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Appreciate you being here, Connor. It's always a pleasure. Connor's with Midwest Money Management. How does somebody get a hold of you guys if they care to chat finances?
You can send us an email at connor@midwestmoneymanagement.com. You can check out our website, midwestmoneymanagement.com, or you can give us a call, 651-204-3000, 651-204-3000.
Appreciate you being here, Connor. We'll do more after this.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc. Midwest Money Management and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
You've been listening to Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Midwest Money Management, your local full-service comprehensive financial planning team. Midwest Money Management is located at 17316 Kenyon Avenue in Lakeville, Minnesota. Securities offered through J.W. Cole Financial Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through J.W. Cole Advisors Incorporated. Midwest Money Management and J.W. Cole Financial Incorporated and J.W. Cole Advisors Incorporated are unaffiliated entities. Any opinions expressed are those of Midwest Money Management and not necessarily those of J.W. Cole Financial. You should consult a qualified professional for advice on tax and legal matters.